Coming to paperback and e-readers everywhere, E-Steam Horror of the Hyena Woman. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a wicked werewoman in this action-packed all-new E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order your copy of E-Steam Horror of the Hyena Woman on Amazon.com today.
A female Alabama corrections officer died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound after she and the alleged murder suspect she helped escape from jail were captured after an 11-day manhunt by police. Now, in this incident, which ended in Evansville, Indiana, 56-year-old Vicky White wound up dying of a self-inflicted gunshot wound after she and the inmate who she helped escape from prison, 38-year-old Casey White, were caught by police after a car chase that ended in a wreck. Now, your Vicky White, a couple of 11 days ago, wound up helping your Casey White escape from an Alabama correctional facility by falsifying a document saying that your Casey White needed to go to court for a psychological evaluation. And after getting your Casey White out of the Alabama jail, your Vicky White had gone out here and sold her home for $90,000, and she had also put in papers for her retirement. Now, the police are seeing this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the behaviors of your Vicky White, they fit the pattern and profile for troubled females that I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis. And it's clear to me that your Vicky White was definitely a woman in crisis, because even though she had a successful career as a prison guard and was living very well, she was not satisfied with that life because she did not have a man in her life. And because she did not have a man in her life, and she was at 56 years old, she wound up thinking that this was possibly her last chance at a relationship. And because she thought this was her last chance at a relationship, she went out here and was willing to risk everything to have a relationship with this alleged murderer, including sacrificing her own freedom and her own life. Now, your Vicky White was somebody who was the latest victim of something that I'm seeing as related to a pattern of female prison guards who go out here and work in correctional facilities with males. Now, in the past, women were not allowed to work inside of male correctional facilities because many feared that these women would become corrupted if they were allowed to work in these correctional facilities, and they feared that the inmates would take advantage of these women. And that's what's been happening over the last couple of years as females have been allowed to work in male correctional facilities. Many of these females, like Vicky White, they wind up getting involved with the men that work inside of the correctional facility. They start to develop feelings for the men inside of those correctional facilities, and then they start to have relationships with the men inside of those correctional facilities. Because I have heard stories about female guards getting involved with male inmates, and these female guards, what they do is they will have sexual relations with these inmates in parts of the facility where the cameras aren't there, or they will turn off cameras and then have sexual relations with those inmates inside of the facility. Moreover, these women will go out here and smuggle contraband for these inmates into the penitentiary, going out here bypassing security systems designed to keep the inmates from having access to certain things that are considered contraband, such as cell phones or things like drugs or even weapons to use to take out inmates that the man that they're involved with has a beef with. So these females being brought into the correctional facility are a major threat to the safety not only of the people working in the penitentiary, but they are also a threat to the safety of we the people. And that's what happened here with your Vicky White. She wound up becoming so emotional over this man, Casey White, who was much younger than her. And as she got emotional over this man, she didn't think about the correctional facilities policies and procedures for dealing with inmates, and she didn't think about those policies and procedures for dealing with inmates because this woman was in her feelings about this man, and because she probably did not have a relationship with a man for an extended period of time, she got caught up in the attention she was receiving from this man who was saying the things that she wanted to hear from a man outside of the penitentiary system, and because she was getting the attention she craved from a man and she was getting her emotional needs met by a man, she wanted to reciprocate and have a deeper relationship with that man, and that's why she wound up breaking the rules as related to policies in the prison to help free this man. So your Vicky White, I believe, was out here. She saw that this was her last chance at a relationship with a man, and because she saw that this was her last chance at a relationship with her man, she invested her emotions into this inmate, Casey White. And as she invested her emotions into this man, she did not think critically about her life outside of the penitentiary because this man basically became the life that she wanted to live. So this is why I believe your Vicky White went out here and put in her papers for her retirement from a very lucrative Alabama prison guard job, and she was willing to sell her $90,000 home and take all of that money and look to go on the run with Casey White. She thought this man was her everything, and since this man was her everything, she was willing to invest everything to be with this man, and she was willing to put her life on the line going on the run with this man. So this is what happens when you put females inside of a place like a correctional facility filled with men. The women wind up getting in their emotions about how they feel about these men, and as they get in their emotions about how they feel about these men, this is what makes them a major risk to not only the security of that facility, but that also makes them a threat to the safety of all of the people outside of that facility, because a correctional facility is only as secure as its weakest link. And when you have a woman who is emotional about a man, what happens is she becomes a weak link that your inmates take advantage of. And in the best case scenario, all these women will do is get fired for having sexual relations with an inmate. But in the worst case scenario, you will have a female like a Vicky White going out here and helping an inmate escape from prison. And that's what happened here as related to your Casey White. He managed to get involved with a guard who possibly was lonely, possibly had no real chance for a relationship outside of the correctional facility, and with this guy stimulating her emotions and her emotions becoming more stimulated about the whole idea of being involved with a man who was considered to be quote unquote exciting because they were going on the run. This is what motivated your Vicky White to want to go out here and go on the run with your Casey White. And this is basically no different than what happens in many black communities when you have the black female who gets involved with what many black men called the pookie. Now, the female will go get involved with this low life individual who is called the pookie because he represents the excitement that she wants to have in life, and because this man is stimulating her emotions, she's sitting there thinking that this man is giving her what she wants as related to meeting her emotional needs. And because she's getting her emotions stimulated, she's thinking that this man really cares about her. However, this man doesn't care about this woman. He's only using her as a tool to get whatever he wants. And in the case of Vicky White, she was being used by your Casey White to get him out of jail. And while this woman was getting her emotions stimulated, she thought she was doing something that was helping her progress, but she was actually doing things to destroy her life. And this is the same thing in the black community that happens with black women who get involved with the pookie. They get involved with this man, he stimulates their emotions, he makes them feel good because they're getting attention that they didn't get from their fathers. They're getting stimulated as related to being excited, but they can't see how this man is actually destroying their lives because they are putting them in a situation where their lives are going to wind up falling apart. And the same thing happened here to your Vicky White. She was getting her emotions stimulated by Casey White, and because she felt like this man was so exciting, she went out here and put her entire life on the line, basically emptying out putting her papers in for her retirement, going out here selling her home, and looking to go out here and get caught up in the whole idea of going on the run with your Casey White. And that's what happens to a lot of females because they go out here and invest their feelings into a man, not ever thinking critically about the decisions that they're making and how they impact their safety, impact their health, or impact their freedom. All they're thinking about is getting with this man, and all they're thinking about is how this man makes them feel at the moment, not ever thinking about the consequences of being involved with this man and how being involved with this man is impacting their lives negatively. And again, this is why in the past, men did not allow women to work inside correctional facilities with inmates who were men, because these women could easily be taken advantage of because they got emotionally attached to these men. And as they got emotionally attached to these men, they were a security risk that impacted the safety not only of the facility, but they also impacted the safety of all of the residents of a state. Unfortunately, you cannot make the argument to say this is why we should not have female guards inside of male facilities, because many of these feminists will say that you are being so-called sexist. However, this is a textbook example of why we need to have only males guarding males, because when you put a woman inside of a correctional facility, this woman becomes a woman in crisis, and that woman in crisis, what she does is put everybody's life on the line, and she puts everybody in jeopardy as related to the safety of everyone. Because when you have a female who is emotionally involved with a guy, what happens is that they will go out here and get their emotions involved with this man. And as they let their emotions get involved with this man, they don't think about more important things like the health of people, the safety of them for themselves, and their freedom. They don't think about these things. It's all about what they want right now. And because they want what they want right now, they will put everybody's freedom, everybody's safety in jeopardy. Now, this situation ended up where your Vicky White and her and the inmate she was helping, they wound up getting caught. And the main reason why your Vicky White wound up killing herself was because she didn't want to wind up going to prison for the rest of her life. Because after going out here and helping this inmate escape from prison, your Vicky White was not only looking at state charges for aiding and abetting a known felon, she had gone across state lines and she was looking at getting some federal time for going across state lines. And because your Vicky White had invested everything emotionally into this Casey White, and she knew she was looking at doing the rest of her life in prison, where she would possibly be going out here being traded in between spades games. This is why she decided to go out here and take her life, because the man who she invested all of her life in was going to go back to prison possibly for the rest of his life, and she was going to wind up with no one. So she decided, since she wasn't going to be able to have anything she wanted to go out here and take her own life. Now, this is again another textbook example of a woman in crisis, and this woman is in crisis because she just basically was not able to get her emotional needs met, and because she wasn't able to get her emotional needs met from a man outside of the penitentiary, she wound up locking herself into a prison as related to her own life, and now she doesn't have her life anymore. And sadly, that's what happens to many of these women in crisis. They wind up having the big job, they wind up making the good money, but they don't wind up satisfied in life, and they wind up getting involved with pookies. And as they get involved with these pookies, who are like this guy could possibly be a white supremacist, they wind up on a road to becoming miserable until their life ends. And sadly, their life ends in either a very tragic fashion, and that's what happened here with your Vicky White. She is a textbook example of a woman in crisis, and this woman was in crisis because she was not getting her emotional needs met by a man, and because she didn't get her needs met by a man, what she did was get involved with a pookie, and that pookie was somebody she invested everything in. And sadly, this guy would have possibly, if they had stayed alive, he would have just used her, then dumped her, and done like many of the pookies do to the black women. But this story just really shows me how your pookie can come in any color, come in any race, and any woman who gets involved with him eventually becomes a woman in crisis. Now, my upcoming book, The Woman Crisis, details more about why women wind up on this dysfunctional paradigm where they wind up going nowhere, and that I hope to have that book out in the fall. But until then, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, to learn about how beta males like your Casey White go out here and manipulate people, and that book is available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBook store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me do more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.